I'm not hyper focused on death in a negative way or in a dark, gloomy way. I am focused on death through the lens of it helping to create a better life. The more that I spend time listening to people recount near-death experiences, I do believe that there is an awareness that we receive when we quote-unquote die, which is that we were always connected to one another. You leave a discussion on death and the sky looks a little brighter and the stars look a little bit shinier. It really does make things better.
Well, like I said, we're just paving the way. We're letting people know that talking about this, planning for it, really does empower you.
Welcome to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. If you ever asked, how do I protect myself and those I love if something unexpected happened to me? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Niki Weiss, and together we'll explore how to protect yourself in a world where both your physical and digital legacy leave a lasting impact.
And welcome back to another episode of the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. My guest today is Peri. Peri, you have a story to tell about how you, from a marketing branding specialist to an end-of-life death doula. So welcome to the show, and what got you here today?
Thank you so much, Niki. I'm so happy to be here. Oh my goodness, how did I go from being a brand strategist and working in marketing to doing what I'm doing now?
Was that on your bingo card?
Not on my bingo card. Actually, from the time I was, I would say in my 20s, is when this idea of being in the death space started to bubble up to the surface. I was working in New York City, kind of leading that burning the candle at both ends life that most 20-somethings lead, working in advertising, trying to have fun on the weekends, too much fun on the weekends, right? And I started to feel, I can only describe it as like this pang, right? Like this ache, inner ache of like, am I doing the right thing in my life, working in advertising? And the more that I grew in that career and the more that I experienced life and grew as a human being, I started to say, I am in the right career. I'm in the right career, but there's another side of me that is calling to be in the death space. I mean, it just was like the only way that I can describe it, Niki, is a constant voice of, but you could be helping people in really more intimate, close ways. And death was the thing that always came up, which was very peculiar, to be honest. Like, to be somebody in your 20s and working in advertising and living this kind of like, I'm on Sex and the City, but I'm living that life. And then in this voice in your head saying, I could be doing something more meaningful to me, and it could be in the death space, was an awkward thing to navigate.
It was a calling.
I certainly didn't want to tell people about it.
Yeah, and I was interrupting to say it's a calling. I mean, it's hard for people to how do you get here? It kind of found us.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. I would say people always ask me, especially my parents, what is it that happened to you that made you want to focus on this? Like, almost like with a slight air of concern.
Because there's an obsession. I mean, an extreme focus.
It's like, what happened to you? It's almost like when you cut bangs, and someone's like, oh no, like, are you going through something? And the answer is no. Like, I'm not hyper focused on death in a negative way or in a dark, gloomy, time to see a psychologist way. I am focused on death through the lens of it helping to create a better life, and also the lens of death of wanting to help others who are going through that journey and transition. So for me, it's the opposite of gloomy. It literally is the opposite of gloomy.
Well, I said when we first had our conversation a while back that we were cut from the same cloth.
I
and it's a
know.
cloth that people really don't understand. Is
Yeah.
that we look, you know, my tagline is live fully, die ready for Death and Donuts. I mean, to come up with the name of your group, which you can share a little more about.
Yeah.
It puts a little giggle to death. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
little head tilt, like, oh, I would never put donuts and death together, and right, and live fully, die ready, sort of that empowerment. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So share people.
Yeah, so kind of two things come up for me there. So um, once I became, so a little bit of my backstory and how I got to here. I decided in a time where I was not currently working, I had been laid off from a role here in Colorado, and I had that mental space to figure out, okay, what do I really want to do and what's right for me now? And finally, what a relief to like listen to the voice that had been in my head for so long around the death space. And I got my death doula certification through International End of Life Doula Association. So once I did that, I immediately jumped into hospice volunteer work, which has been a really meaningful, wonderful experience. Again, people are like, oh, you must be an angel. No, I'm not. I'm just a human being that's showing up for another human being at a specific time of their life. That's the way that I think about it. So I started doing the hospice care work. And then from that, I just got this very, I would call it a creative spark. I knew that people needed to talk about death more. I felt that it was something they were holding on to. I call it the death grip on the topic of death. They had this like hard, oh, I don't want to talk about death, you know? And so I thought, is there a way for me to bring this to people through to, you know, in a podcast where we talk about it in a really relaxed way? And so that's how Mostly Death Stuff started, from this belief that we can talk about death in a way that's not scary and isn't dark and isn't gloomy. And so that's where Mostly Death Stuff started. If you look at my branding, it's exactly like the picture behind me. It's super bright, and it's you know, I'm wearing a really bright yellow sweater on my website, and all of that is very intentional because I didn't want this podcast to be a dark and gloomy experience for people. I wanted to bring light to the death space. And so following that, I felt a pull to create more community. This is aside from the death care space. We are in a time right now where people are, I think, aching for more human connection. And so the ability to create in-person and some virtual events that bring people together face-to-face and help create human connection, that's really the impetus for how Death and Donuts was developed. And you're absolutely right. There is a smile to Death and Donuts. I've paired two things that typically don't go together. The branding that I developed in partnership with my very talented designer is all about bringing a bit of quirkiness and a smile to the topic of death. It's lowering that threshold where actually this feels like something I could attend and not be scared. That was my goal.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you see, but I've got in the background Jessie. Jessie is my mascot, and I get a couple of like responses, and Jessie says, "Live fully, die ready," right? So that empowerment piece.
Yeah.
So it's bright. And I get a couple of responses. One response is, "Can you blur your background because that that skeleton behind you is kind of freaking me out," and for me, that's very tall-telling. Like, oh, I guess you have an issue with talking about death.
Yeah.
And then, or I get the other one, which is cool, cool mascot or cool image behind you. Is that the Grateful Dead? They associate with Jerry Garcia.
Yeah.
Or De la Muerte, right? The Day of the Dead, which is inspired, right? It's the Mexican celebration of Day of the Dead. And
Yeah.
It is. It's just like, I'm not sure. Have you done your research? Like where the twistedness, that the fear that came into making death a taboo topic when it is, you talk about the humanistic piece, right? In this AI age, it is the most humanistic experience we're all going to go through.
That's exactly right. I was just talking about this with someone the other day, that we have a lot of people in the world right now who really, really are focused on life and longevity, and living longer. Biohacking. We've got to live longer. Well, a couple things come up for me when I think about longevity. I think it's important for us to live well, and living well doesn't necessarily, it's not one thing. It's the fact that our body is strong enough to experience all the things that we want to experience, right? If I'm not strong enough to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, well, then I won't be able to do it. Like, I got to get my body in the form to be able to do the goal, achieve the goals that I want to achieve in life. Fine. But the longevity piece, I feel like, puts so much emphasis, obviously, on living and ignores the part that is inevitable, which is that we are going to all die. We assume that that part of our life is the end. We're going to get into a whole philosophical discussion now, which I don't want to get, but we assume that's
but
right?
Part of living is dying.
Yes.
I don't, and it's like there's a miscommunication here. So now I'm like, oh, from a branding standpoint, it's like, how do we brand? How do we bring this concept of, and again, like you said, the philosophical, religious, philosophical, why death became so fearful. You and I, we have an opportunity to change that narrative, to rebrand death, to make it empowering and inspirational. So
I hope so.
How can we do this?
How can we do it? The first step is to bring it to the surface of culture. I think that's the first thing. So right now, it's hidden. It's I can physically feel, as a very empathic person, when I tell people that I am working in this space and I have a podcast and I have a community group, I either can feel, much like your poster, I either can feel an openness and a curiosity, or I can feel a total shutdown, weird. And some of that, when you experience something like that in someone, I kind of hold up a mirror and I'm like, that it's just their life that has led them. It's just their life that has led them to have that immediate reaction, the fear, the darkness, the cloud that hangs over death as the absolute worst thing that can happen to us as human beings. Or there's a receptivity to the fact that there's an opportunity for us to grow as humans when we talk and explore death. And so I lean more into the side of people being curious, but I'm hyper aware of the fact that the majority of people don't really want to talk about this. And I get that. And so having that insight, or having that understanding of where people are coming from, I think that's where I bring my brand and marketing side into this, is where are people starting from? And how can I bring them just a few inches closer? Even if I can bring them a couple inches closer, then I've done my job.
And again, from a branding standpoint, it is also the repetitiveness and the consistency in that brand messaging that, for us to say, death is not a taboo topic, that it's empowering, live fully, die ready, right? Peace of mind for those you leave behind. What are some of the taglines you've kind of captured? Those are mine. What are some of the taglines you've been able to capture?
Loosening the death grip we have on death. And I talk about the fact that the human death rate is 100%.
Can I just share a little, I was having a conversation with somebody. I was at an event, and gentleman comes up to me, must have been in his late 60s, early 70s, and just said, thank you so much. This is such an important topic. I don't know why people don't talk about it. I just met the guy and I blurted out, yeah, I don't know why either. Erectile dysfunction is all over the commercials. I like blurted that out, but it was true. It's just like all of a sudden I'm like, wherever I look, there's like these ED commercials and advertisements. And I'm
Totally.
like, if we can talk about that, really, why can't we talk about something that affects everybody? And death, it's indiscriminate. It doesn't care how
Right.
old you are, what your socioeconomic background, what your health status is. I mean, last week I launched my or posted my podcast with Dr. Justin Baker, who is
Okay.
the director of the Stanford Pediatric Palliative Care team.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And just it was an amazing conversation. And it's interesting because that podcast actually has been getting a fair amount of engagement because it's pediatric. Heartfelt, yes, and at the same time, if we're not talking about children, a child versus a 99, beloved one who's suffering with all Alzheimer's, memory care issues,
Yeah.
no one's untouched by this.
Mm-hmm.
But ED gets
Yeah,
more
I was
publication.
reminded of that yesterday, believe it or not, for fun, air
Mhm.
quotes. I went to go check out a local eco funeral home. They do terramation, they do aquamation. And I was reminded of that when it was a bunch of, I would say, the majority of the people that attended this talk and tour were over the age of 55. But as the CEO of the company was giving us a tour, he said, this terramation vessel can hold anywhere from, an infant all the way to a 400-pound person. And it jarred me out of my skin a little bit, because even somebody like me who talks about the death space all the time, I think oftentimes we do forget that death encompasses all of us. It's infants,
Even
it's
before.
children, it's the 35-year-old mom, and it's the 99-year-old grandma. So for us to only look at one piece of it, the 99-year-old grandma who's lived a full life, we like to say that, she lived a full life, but not address what comes with the younger deaths, well, then we're not looking at death fully. Got to look at the whole thing, as painful as it is.
Painful. And look, I mean, I had a miscarriage. Even that, even an early term miscarriage, there's, and I can feel the chills now. It's like there's a mourning process that goes on. There's a loss, even, no matter what your beliefs are, because there's the emotion around that. And yet, even just to talk about pregnancy, how some people just don't announce, that they received the positive pregnancy test because they don't want to share that. What if it doesn't hold? What if I lose that fetus? And so then what happens to those couples, family, women that are going through that grieving process because they can't say the words and share that thought?
Yeah,
So right from
absolutely.
conception to, like you said, our centennials, people that are living well into their hundreds, it doesn't matter.
No, no. I did an episode on infant and child loss, and I will say it was the most difficult episode that I did record. I wanted to just share a thought based on something that you said, Nikki, which is that in my effort to bring lightness and brightness and a little bit of a smile to death, that is not, the intention of that is not to belittle or
Minimize.
make fun of or do anything that would make smaller someone's grief or make it non-significant. So I don't do a lot in the grief space because I'm not a grief expert. And I'm not schooled in that space to help people in grief. But I do believe that grief is super real. I'm experiencing it on many levels personally. So I did want to just kind of call out, my goal is not to gloss over that part of the death experience because it's such a major part.
Like you.
I just leave it to the
Yes,
experts.
and like you, having worked in hospice, I have made the decision not to specialize. I don't do grief. I acknowledge it, but I think what you and I do are able to empower people is that by opening up the conversations, by talking about this inevitable life event, it can lessen the grief experience and journey that people do go on, because there's less denial, more earlier conversations, more planning, more another. How do you feel about mediums? Because I'm on a warpath with the mediums. The only reason I say that is because I feel like if we had these open, enlightened conversations about death and dying before, you wouldn't need to be so dependent on a medium to tell you, yes, yes, I'm channeling your mother from the other side and she did love you. Or here's where the password was. It's like, you can have those conversations ahead before you need the medium. And then it'll lessen that grieving process.
Yeah. I'm not a hater on mediums. In fact, I'm the opposite. And my reason doesn't come, my love of meeting with a fantastic, talented medium is not that I don't have that validation. I know my loved ones love me and they're still watching over me, and I feel confident that they're always here. They're here right now. What I love about it is the connection to the other side and somebody really validating for me that there is a way that those souls are operating. That's what gives me the feels. I just think that is remarkable. And if somebody can do it and channel it and it's legit, by the way, a lot is not legit. If somebody can do it legit, I'm like, this is so cool.
And just as a disclaimer or a clarification, I believe mediums have an ability. It's just a brain capacity, right? So just as a musician can see a score on a blank sheet of paper, and an visual artist can create a painting out of their image. They're just able to, and an author can write a book based on whatever downloads they're receiving. Mediums, to me, it's just they're tapped into that frequency of being able to hear between the veils. I mean, that's my...
I wish I could do it.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I mean, I've played around with it, but I wish I could do it because I do think that there's a different, you're at a different vibrational space. And wow, how cool would it be to live life in that vibrational space?
Yeah, and I wish I could play the piano. I wish I could play the piano, but I can't. I don't, it's just my brain capacity. But you and I have this is our gift, right? To be able to have to open up these difficult conversations in a way that it's not weird, not scary, welcoming. I think that that's our gift.
I believe it definitely is. It feels like I used this word earlier. It feels like a relief to spend, I don't know, I'm 47 now. It was 30-ish years of being like, where is my place? And when I finally found it in this space, it was a huge relief. Yeah.
We found our calling.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for us. It's not everyone gets to do it.
Or they're still spinning, trying to find, their footing in this life that we're living, and what is the meaning of it. And so meaning of it. What do you think the meaning of death is? Like if someone said, "What do you think happens to us after we die?"
What happens after we die? This has evolved for me, over the past even couple of months, the more that I spend time listening to people recount near-death experiences. I do believe that there is an awareness that we receive when we quote-unquote die, which is that we were always connected to one another. So there's a connectivity that I think we become very, very aware of there's a bigness beyond our physical body that we become aware of. There's a integration that we've always had with nature and the world around us, and air and water. And I think that there is something really profound that becomes super clear to us at death that doesn't feel confusing. It might feel confusing now, alive in this human body, but when we die, it's very simple. And that to me is a calming thought for me. And it's something that I've been thinking about more and more, that is what death feels like. And that's what death brings awareness to. I also think that we assume as human beings that right now what we are experiencing on Earth is the best that it can get. The connections that we have with other people, our family, our pets, our friends, our colleagues. This life that I'm living right now is it. This is it. This is my greatness. I think what is possible is that in death we actually experience the best of it. So the best is yet to come is like, a phrase that I think people are familiar with. I think there's a possibility that that's true. And when you shift that belief to the best is yet to come, you can use it now while you're alive. You can keep thinking the best is yet to come in my days on this earth. But yet also the best is yet to come in whatever comes next. And that to me is so hopeful. It also takes the pressure off, that feeling of you only get one life. Like this is your one shot. Eminem, you only got one shot. And maybe that's true, but whatever comes next could be good too, Niki. I don't know.
Well, I think it's the I don't know. People are uncomfortable sitting in the I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting a lot more comfortable in the I don't know. A lot more. That's meditation, which I don't do regularly, but should. It's breathing, it's walking, it's connecting with people that truly light you up and that don't deplete you. It's finding your purpose and going forward with it. All of these things help you to be more at ease with the unknown. I don't know why. I'm sure we could dig into why, but the more that you follow your path and do things that bring you happiness, the less scary the unknown feels.
There's less detachment. To be able to detach from I need to know versus maybe we need not to know. And maybe that's why, again, from a branding standpoint, death has had this fearfulness because we should fear the unknown. And I think we have an opportunity to shift that. Because especially it's February, the end of February 2026, and we don't know. It's the world right now is just complete and utter. Where are we going? Between geopolitical, the AI news that's coming out, fast and furious, climate change. Who are we? What does it mean to be human?
Yeah. What does it mean to be human? I'm not a biblical person. I've only read parts of the Bible, actually, excerpts, I would say. But there is some part of the Bible and a phrase that says, and the greatest of these is love. Honestly, I always come back to that line. The greatest of these is love, because love feels like it's the center of everything that we do. I don't know how to live a full life without love. And I'm not talking about a husband or a wife or
love for self,
loving other people, loving yourself, loving your pets, loving your passions, just love, exuding that type of love is what it means to be human.
So love is about human connection. Human connection is about community. So let's talk about the community that's part of your mission with Death and Donuts, is to build community around the topic of death. Yeah. So how's that been going? Yeah. What is the response and the people that are being drawn to this community of yours?
Yeah, this is certainly a very kind of grassroots. I started this community and I put feelers out on Facebook and said, and I used an image that is within keeping of my brand. It was a very quirky image. And I said, imagine a community group where we talk about death stuff, but it's not like other death groups that might exist today. It's kind of light and bright and gives you permission to giggle every once in a while. Like, is anybody interested? And if you are, can you fill out this form? 125 people gave me their emails. And I was like, oh, whoa, okay. So people are interested in this topic, and they're so much so they're like ready to sign up on a Facebook post. And so I use that as a signal to just say, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna start it. I'm not gonna, I use that tech mindset of like, I'm gonna resist perfection. I'm just gonna move forward with it. Death and Donuts is organically growing. It is mostly growing through word of mouth, so I'm hoping to change that and kind of get some ways that people find us more easily. But it is a local group, but it's also a virtual group. So we allow, we have experiences where people can just log on and be in the comfort of their home, and other ones where it really allows for people to look into the eyeballs of other people, which is something that I think we're craving. And there is an epidemic of loneliness that exists right now in society, and people are craving ways to connect more authentically with one another. I always talk about death as the ultimate unifier of human beings. It's something that we all have in common. So, there are groups for cat lovers and dog lovers and people who love to hike, and this is yet another one of those groups, but everyone qualifies.
A little tongue in cheek there, but at the same time, there's, truth to everyone's welcome.
Everyone's welcome. Everyone qualifies. You're allowed to bring your, I always say like weirdos welcome. I'm one of them. And so come with your curiosity, come with questions. If you want to slip out the back door and you realize it's not for you and you want to try it another time, like do that. I really work to create a safe space where people of different, some people are very outgoing and some people are not. I'm an introvert. I would rather hide in the bathroom at a party than actually talk to people. So I try and create a space where everybody everyone feels like they fit in. And there's something for everyone as part of the experience. So some of the events that we've had so far, we did meet at the Natural Funeral, which is an eco funeral offering here in Boulder County. And we learned about eco funeral options, and we met with a psychic medium, and we explored psychic mediumship. And then we also just met at a donut shop and sat around the table and talked about death stuff, which was actually a bright spot in my week. And I think other people left feeling that way too. You leave a discussion on death, and like, the sky looks a little brighter and the stars look a little bit shinier. It really does make things better. I don't know why. It's a side effect of talking about life. A side effect of talking about death is actually a shinier life. So those are the types of things that we're doing, and we're growing. So we'll see.
Well, like I said, we're just paving the way. We're letting people know that talking about this, planning for it, really does empower you. It takes the fog, the fear, the confusion, the I don't know, and creates a roadmap. Allows people to be able to settle into this most humanistic experience we're all going to go through.
Totally. It totally does.
Well, like I said, I'm all about the rebrand. So put me on your rebrand team. Let's just, be able to take this. And there are companies out there that are doing it. Titan Caskets, for example. I don't know, right? It's hysterical, the commercials they're doing. Liquid Death. We just putting a pun on these words to be able to say, this is we shouldn't fear it. Let's not put it in the closet. Let's put it out there.
Yeah. I'm so happy to see some of those ways that brands like you just mentioned, Liquid Death and Titan Caskets, are rebranding death. I'm so grateful for that.
Well, you and I think we could put ourselves in that.
Yeah, we'll put each other in that good company. I'm not ashamed. Yeah,
because there's about, I mean, even just, this positive death community that you and I are part of, right? I think we have to support each other as we continue to build. So 2 or 3 things that our listeners you recommend them to do today to empower them for tomorrow?
So I would say get curious is my first tip. Just get curious. Allow yourself to lean into the death space if you feel compelled to. Take baby steps. You don't have to do big, huge jumps, but take baby steps to find community groups. Podcasts is a great way to just kind of get closer to the death space and get yourself acclimated to this space, again, with the goal of creating a better life. The second thing I'm going to say is get off your phone. I know this sounds like really like a dictation or like a get off your phone, like a mom. The more that you can find real life experiences with other people, the better. This is not pushing away things like AI and tech and all the wonderful things that make life better, faster, more efficient. It's an and to those things. Make sure you find ways to connect with people, new people, people that stretch you, people that teach you new things. So, for me, I'm making a really conscious effort to spend more time with human beings and less time with my phone.
But they can listen to our podcasts, both.
They can. So they can listen to your podcast. They can listen to mine, which is mostly death stuff. I'm on Spotify and Apple and all the other.
Yeah, and where else if people wanted to reach out to you directly, best place for them to find you?
So other than my website, mostlydeathstuff.com, you can also check out Death and Donuts, which is donuts spelled DONUTS. Deathanddonuts.com is another place to learn about the work that we do in the community.
That's awesome. Peri, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a real gift. And we can end our conversation here. Thank you so much.
I loved it.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I hope this conversation inspired you to take control and plan for the inevitable to protect yourself and those you leave behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at digitallegacypodcast.com. Remember, life is full of surprises. What happens after you die shouldn't be. So keep your passwords safe and your playbook up to date.